Alrighty. One thing I haven't really talked about is something called the Madonna of Bachelors Grove, or the Lady in White, or something called Miss Rogers. It goes by different names. And something had happened recently where somebody was live streaming at the cemetery. And during that live stream, uh, people were asking questions to the guy doing the stream itself. So he's just reading it off and he's asking me, people want to know, tell us about the Lady in White. And unfortunately, I'm very honest. And I think I may have slightly embarrassed the guy live in his stream. He spent 3-4 hours, I guess, streaming at the infant daughter grave. I don't know exactly what he said because the footage is not available for me to watch. But based on what I saw, I don't think he was too happy. So I didn't mean to embarrass the guy. I was just being honest because I had written a bunch of stuff about it. Just try to track down how the original story started, where all these names came from, why is everybody confused when they read one book or the other. I mean, even authors get confused. So I'm going to go back to a more quieter location because I think we're going to have a bunch of noise and it's getting a little sunny. So I'm going to go off my tablet with some notes. You can go on bachelorsgrove.com in the paranormal history section. You'll find a Google document called Madonna of Bachelors Grove. So in case I missed something, or if you just want more details, like kind of like a chronological order of things, go for it, check it out. Because that's another thing that they were asking on his live stream, like, what's this website and where's this document? And so I apologize out there that you ask questions and I just give an honest answer based on research, real research. And sometimes you got to let people know that the Easter Bunny isn't real. So here we go. I'm going to head off and see if I can get this done. All right, so here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to, because I do updates on some of these articles, this one was last updated October 16, 2020. It's titled The Madonna of Bachelors Grove, also known as The White Lady, Miss Rogers, and Woman in White. So I'll just kind of put some text up about it, and then I'll throw in some pictures or video or whatever I might think is relevant. It's pretty windy. All right. So the legend, oh, by the way, this was, you might see a documentary out there called The Real Bachelors Grove. And I promise you, you do not know the real Bachelor's Grove. But this was included. Dale would speak off some of these articles that I had written. And definitely information was omitted during the speech of them reciting stuff. Read into that what you will. By the way, I do still hold Dale in high regard with some things. And I'll make some comments later. But this is not to knock Dale Kaczmarek, and you'll see why. But I'm just going through historical information, just a chronological thing. So it says here, the legend of the Madonna of Bachelors Grove dates back to 1982. Within the 2000 book Beyond the Grave, on page 224, it states, quote, photos taken by the group in 1979 show a monk-like figure standing near the cemetery fence. The figure appeared to be wearing a hooded robe and holding a baby in its arms, end quote. It then goes on to mention, quote, oddly, this was 3 years before the Ghost Research Society collected any accounts of the White Lady. Now, before I continue, this photograph that was captured in 1979, speaking with Dale at his house, he did show me the picture. I was pretty sure he had sent that to me before because it was kind of a color infrared thing going on, and it was captured facing the southeast portion of the cemetery, kind of near the littlest stone you'll see in there, and apparently it was more on the eastern fence. So I'm not going to pop up the photo that I believe he sent me by mistake. He is adamant he never had sent me that photo though. So, but I did get to take a look at it, and for what it's worth, my opinion, I saw absolutely nothing. So it was, to me, one of those photos you had to look super hard in the leaves and the trees to see something. Maybe I made a mistake, but I just couldn't see anything. So let's continue. But the legend of the Madonna of Bachelors Grove can be very confusing. Original definition to the phrases Madonna of Bachelors Grove and white lady are given to the apparition of a woman in a white dress that is reported as wandering aimlessly throughout the cemetery, while occasionally holding a baby in her arms. The most popular aspect to the legend is that you can only see the woman and baby together on moonlit nights, specifically when there is a full moon. Based upon the widespread use of the phrases in books and elsewhere, it is from these particular sightings that the phrases hold most of their historical meaning. The origin to the legend can be traced back to researcher Dale Kaczmarek, president of the Ghost Research Society in Oak Lawn, Illinois. The first source that mentions the phrases White Lady and Madonna of Bachelors Grove together is the 1989 book True Tales of the Unknown, The Uninvited by Sharon Jarvis. Within the book, it is clear that the phrases White Lady and Madonna of Bachelors Grove are both attached to the same apparition of a woman and baby. Kaczmarek happened to be a contributor to the book as well. Now let me add some notes in here. Actually, it appears that Dale was supposed to have written everything about Bachelors Grove in that book. I don't remember how much was taken out or if any, but as a contributor, it was like he contributed to that whole section, his writings. I don't know what the author may have done with punctuation or whatever. But. So let's go on. One particular reference from 1998 within the Republican states, there were several reports of a figure of a young girl near one of the graves. Unquote. Now, during an interview of Kaczmarek for the Lombardian in October of 2000, the author stated, "A woman in white with a baby in her arms was also reported by local officers, and at first they never repeated the story of their sighting." She also went on to quote Kaczmarek as saying, quote, "They thought they'd be laughed at by their their friends and colleagues." I promise you there's a reason for... It might look like I'm jumping around when I wrote this, but there's a reason why I'm going down this road. So, goes on, even though witnesses have reported the White Lady as a woman in a white dress walking throughout the cemetery, it has also been reported without a baby in her arms. Removing the baby from the sightings occasionally leads to confusion, where the legend evolves into the White Lady occasionally, quote, looking for her missing baby as she still appears to be walking aimlessly throughout the cemetery. Authors have interchanged various phrases used to describe the apparition of the woman while speaking separately about different aspects to the legend. This appears to be the primary reason why some people are confused into thinking they are being told separate legends. Confusion has even struck authors themselves. One example can be found within the 2000 book Ghost Stories of Illinois. On page 103 it states, "One of the most famous phantoms of Bachelors Grove is known as the White Lady or the Madonna. Some locals have even dubbed her, for no apparent reason, Miss Rogers." As found within the example just given, when speaking about the White Lady, references to a Miss Rogers can be found. The first use of the phrase Miss Rogers can be traced back to the 1991 book More Haunted Houses, I hope I don't screw this up, by Joanne Bingham and Dolores Riccio. Now, within the book, legend states, quote, "There's an urgency in her manner as she wanders about searching through the tombstones for a lost treasure or person." The legend continues that the apparition is thought to be the spirit of a woman that was buried next to her infant. At this point, the legend of the White Lady evolves into that of Miss Rogers, which is still in reference to the Madonna of Bachelors Grove. Within the 1989 book True Tales of the Unknown, The Uninvited, in reference to the White Lady and baby found on page 62, Dale Kaczmarek states, "To add a little fuel to the fire, there is a very small grave in Bachelors Grove with the simple inscription, quote, 'Infant Daughter.' Makes you wonder, doesn't it?" At no point in the book does it make any reference to a woman looking for a treasure or person, nor does it mention that the woman is looking for a baby. Again, this is all leading to something, to put things together. Now it says, within the National Examiner in 1984, Kaczmarek had stated, except for the baby, the descriptions are always the same. A mournful, white-clad phantom wandering aimlessly among the tombstones. So the author of the article then goes on to mention, Kaczmarek believes the tormented phantom is desperately seeking other children in her family who were somehow lost to her. It was not until the 1991 book More Haunted Houses was published that information was more widely available as to the speculation of the White Lady looking for her infant. So let me pause here. So even though Kaczmarek's out there speaking at maybe a conference or just in groups, wherever he's at, information is kind of circulating. He's talking to other people that do write books. But when these people actually wrote this 1991 book, More Haunted Houses, that's where things really just took off. And other authors, when they write their books, they do like to copy from other books. So that is the first route. And I did speak to Dale, and yes, he agrees that, that's when it really took off. All right, let's continue. There was at least some correspondence between Kaczmarek and the authors of More Haunted Houses before it was published. How much of that conversation found its way into the book may be irrelevant, but the important factor is that the phrase Miss Rogers was an outcome. The name Miss Rogers is actually in reference to Luella Rogers, who was buried in lot 15 next to the infant daughter headstone. Burial records indicate that the infant daughter headstone is located on a plot that lies next to Luella Rogers and Daniel Rogers. It was not until 1995 when Brad Bettenhausen, president of the Tinley Park Historical Society in Illinois, made additional genealogy information available through a Where the Trails Cross publication that incidentally gave some insight into a portion of the facts surrounding the Miss Rogers legend. Contrary to popular legend, the infant daughter burial is not a child of Luella Rogers or Daniel Rogers, all of whom are buried next to each other on the same lot. There is genealogical evidence to support that the infant daughter headstone was actually a replacement headstone for Emma Fulton after it went missing. Now let me stop here. Back in the day, when me and Brad Bettenhausen would collaborate on some stuff and information, it's kind of missed those days. He has a lot of research behind the scenes, a lot of stuff that's not even published. Maybe it doesn't need to be published, but he gets real nitty gritty with his records, and he clearly stated that a lot of the stuff to me, and some of it went into the publication, some of it was told to me by him on even things how they found the Emma Fulton stone and the original one and so on and so forth. And so that's how we know where I'm going to continue, how this information came out. Evidence indicates that the infant daughter headstone should have been placed on the east side of the Fulton Monument, not on the west side where it was cemented into the ground upon its replacement. So that would make the burial site of the infant daughter headstone belonging to Marcia May, I'm probably going to screw this up, daughter of Bertrand Fulton and Catherine Vogt. So overall, regardless of which person is actually located within the burial site of infant daughter, we now know that this child does not belong to Luella Rogers. Usage of the phrase Miss Rogers continues to be printed in books, newspapers, and other publications. Various theories are given on its meaning throughout the internet, some of which may or may not have any relevance to factual information. But the theories themselves have the potential to spawn a new era of legends surrounding the White Lady. Only time will tell if they will have any historical reference to the local legend, such as usage of the phrase woman in white, which kind of came later. Now, the legend of the White Lady becomes more clouded by references to multiple reports of a humanoid-type apparition. And I'm going to get into this a little later. A prime example is the case of the famous photograph captured in 1991 by Jude Feltz, former member of the Ghost Research Society in Oak Lawn, Illinois. The image is reported as capturing an apparition of a woman sitting on the base of a headstone during daylight utilizing black and white infrared film. One sentence from 1998 within the Republican newspaper states, There were several reports of a figure of a young girl near one of the graves, but Kaczmarek had to see it to believe it. In reference to tours being given at the time, it also went on to state, he showed the amazed audience a picture of a transparent woman sitting on a tombstone. Presentation of the photograph in this manner is the primary reason why it became associated with the legend of the Madonna of Bachelors Grove. Again, you can go back and read this. Eventually with a lot of this stuff I have here, I would like to start showing, cited sources and all that kind of stuff, provide maybe just a link. And some of the stuff in the article, you can link back, like some of that photograph stuff. Now, in Dale's defense, because I spoke to Dale about this long before I actually even wrote this, I'm like, Dale, it looks like you started it. How did this happen? Blah, blah, blah. And it is speculation. Dale meant well. He just made speculation. When then you end up capturing a photograph of something on a headstone, like this lady sitting there. He's giving tours. He is doing his thing. He's going on that little tour circuit, and he's bringing things up. And before you know it, though, it does get, people start to look at it as almost like fact. Like it's talked about so often. It's got to be the case. It's got to be fact. Like, okay, maybe we know some of it's speculation, but there's got to be something to it. Unfortunately, when it comes to tying, see, here's where we need to learn the difference. You go out to this location, the cemetery, or even a little bit beyond it, whatever, and let's say you're seeing an apparition. It's kind of irresponsible to just say, okay, well, that's got to be related to this, related to that, without really much to go on. Yeah, maybe they're seeing something. They're seeing something in robes. Hey, hell, I've seen some stuff going on there. It's kind of crazy. But you just don't jump the gun and say, okay, it's got to be this or got to be that. You got to have a little bit more to it. And even in the case for me, I'll get into it at some point down the road. Something that I had witnessed last year that was absolutely amazing, and yet I am reluctant to tell the public as much as I would want to. I need more information. I need to know what's going on, even if I have a damn good suspicion of what's going on. And then it took a year before I came across some more information, and it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I tell you that if the last thing you want to think about is dead people out there walking around that you're interacting with, I mean it. There are some things that you're going to find out in the future. It's just going to blow your mind, and it's actually way more exciting than running into some dead people. Let's see here. Let me pause. All right, there's things I feel like I can talk about. There's things I feel like I can't talk about. I think the point I'm trying to make here is that be real careful. Just because you see something doesn't necessarily mean, number one, it's dead. And two, it's like to put a name on things, like, a real title, if you're taking this kind of stuff serious, I take it serious. So it's like, you better have some good information because you start putting out information that's complete, even if it is speculation, make sure people know it's speculation. But if you start spitting this stuff out like it's facts, this guy's doing this live stream at the cemetery. Apparently he was unaware of this article that I wrote, and I guess for 4 hours, 4 hours, whatever it was, I guess maybe he was talking like it was some sort of authoritative information. And there I just happened to walk by, and he happens to be doing a live stream. He's a real nice guy. He's actually really polite. He just was asking questions. I mean, even something as simple as my name. I'm like, I'll tell you what, you're live streaming? I'm like, here, let's see if anybody else on your live stream recognizes who I am, because he didn't know who the hell I was. And I guess across the screen, like, Pete was coming across the screen. And, they're just asking me information, and that's cool. I'm not going to sit here necessarily and just beat around the bush. I mean, if you got little 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, I'm probably going to save myself time and not bring up the fact that the Easter Bunny isn't real. Meaning, saying lady in white, just because you saw a lady in white, doesn't mean, even with a baby in its arms, occasionally, it doesn't mean it's tied to the only headstone left in the cemetery that happens to say infant daughter. We've had a lot of children buried there on top of it. So, it's, but let's be adults. There are things that are not panning out as part of the so-called historical record. You know, you can pick out who's doing, speculation or who just outright is lying. Or maybe when they're reciting some of this information, they're omitting what I wrote. And maybe because they're embarrassed, who knows? You go on all these years stating things that are not true. And yeah, it's going to make you kind of look foolish. So, anyways, I've been kind of avoiding stuff from last year. I kind of want to tell people things that were occurring, but I am on a holding pattern. There are certain people behind the scenes, and it does kind of relate to the situation of seeing robed figures. Um, there is some stuff going on that I'm waiting to release the information. I need certain things that I hope that I think might happen in the future on a more public level, and I think that if and when that happens, people might have some extra questions, and they might start to realize that no, this is not dead people going on there primarily, let's say, and maybe I can add some insight into it. Um, and you can take it for what you want if that day ever comes. But in the event that I get hit by a bus tomorrow, those people are out there and they can regurgitate whatever I told them, hopefully in a more truthful manner, without water cooler screw up talk. Uh, anyway, take care and keep the faith. There is stuff out here, even if some of the stories are all screwed up.